Hey everyone and welcome to SkillCapped. My name is Dr. Zora and in today's guide, we're going to be breaking down how to play insanely aggressive and why this playstyle is the secret to ranking up in Valorant. With Valorant still being in its early days, we've seen the meta constantly evolve. One style that's really become particularly popular and effective is this aggression. Sounds simple at first, right? If I want to play aggressive, I just charge in full YOLO and kill. Well, yes, but there's a bit more to it than meets the eye. We're going to break down what aggressive play looks like and how you can implement aggressive play into your game to overwhelm your enemies and climb the rankings fast. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Jumping right into our question of the day for y'all, what rank are you currently in Valorant? This guide is all about learning this style of play that's going to blast your rankings up, so we're curious what your current rank is now, and if you notice the climb after watching this video, then make sure to come back and tell us how much you have actually improved. We love seeing you guys get better, it's what we're here for, so make sure to show some of that love and get that question of the day answered. First up, we're going to talk about the specific aggressive playstyle today called deathballing. You may have heard this term from other games such as Dota 2 and Overwatch. Essentially what deathballing is when your team charges in head on with a focus on overwhelming the enemy. In Valorant, this translates to your team going in as a 5-man unit and rushing down a site at the exact same time. What makes deathballing so effective is its strength in numbers. On attacker side, if you charge onto a site as 5, the defenders likely have 2 or 3 players at most on that site. I'm no mathematician, but 5 is greater than 2 or 3, so if you go in hard with more players, you're likely going to eliminate those players and take over the site. You then maintain this advantage for the rest of the round and you win. Speaking of winning, if you want to learn how to play perfectly to dominate your enemies and rank up fast, then go to skillcapped.com to unlock our hyper improvement system that will teach you everything you need to blast through the rankings in Valorant. The link will be provided in the description below. So now you might be thinking, oh, I just need to rush in hard with my team every round and I'll have a high chance of winning, right? And this may surprise you, but the answer to that for most of you guys is yes. What we found is that a large number of players in the lower rankings do not know how to stop a 5-man push. As a result, the defenders easily get overwhelmed and destroyed. Particularly, we found this especially true in ranks below gold. In fact, we've seen players dominate by rushing a site right off the get-go for an entire half. Even in the plat and diamond elos, we've seen players have success with this, although with the implementation of a few more advanced tactics that we'll mention shortly. Simply rushing a site off the bat gives little time for the defenders to rotate. This leaves the defenders on site with 2 options. Either they challenge you and likely lose trying to hold things down, or they back up and give the site for free, and the defenders then have to play a very difficult retake. Now, as you get higher and higher up the rankings, you're going to have to be a bit more creative before you go for these 5-man pushes. The biggest cons of deathballing is that it can be easily stopped if you didn't set up properly or prepare for a potential counterplay. If the defenders are decent, they'll know to try to block or stall your rush with abilities. For example, they may throw a sage wall down at you or set up cypher trips and cages to punish you for pushing so quickly. Also, if you make too much noise early on or don't show enough presence elsewhere, the defenders will be able to predict where you are trying to hit and can rotate more players early. This is where we want to utilize more strategy before we go for these pushes, otherwise we will get stuck in the defenders' traps and they'll be able to pick you off or stall for the teammates to rotate. The idea to push as 5 remains the same, but with more coordination and trickery. So now let's say we're in a game where the immediate 5-man rush doesn't work. What we can do now are 3 strategies we can implement so we can better set up our push. First is creeping up onto choke points. This is something that a lot of players do not do, and actually something that a lot of defenders will actually allow you to do for free. What you can do is challenge the players that are holding the angles and use strength in numbers to push them back. For example, on the B side of bind, you're going to want to try to push the players in hookah out and slowly take control of that area without the enemy seeing all your players. Similarly, you want to try to push the players playing B long out as well. If they fall back onto the site, this is the perfect scenario. You want to make sure that you do this with only a few of your players and go in slowly so that it's not completely obvious which site you're going for. By taking control of these points, you're now able to get into the site quicker and leave no time for the defenders to stall until the team rotates. You can see this is exactly what Sentinels does in this clip. They slowly creep their way through B long and hookah without the enemy team noticing. Sick initially gets spotted out, however it's unclear to the defenders whether the rest of this team is actually there, and as a result they aren't able to fully rotate over. Now that they're so close, they simply wait for Viper's wall to drop and then they send it down hookah and overwhelm the players that are holding B. Sentinels takes advantage of strength in numbers and win this round solidly as a result. Following that up, knowing which site to hit is crucial for making these 5-man hits work. Sentinels may have gotten a good read on which site would be the best to hit, but how can we figure this out in our own games? There are a few points to think about when deciding this. First, which agents are playing onto that site? If you're facing a Sentinel such as Killjoy or Cypher, you want to find out their position. There's likely going to be less players with them, and if you want to push that site, you'll have to clear out their utility first. This then likely means there are more players on the other site. Find out who's playing where so you have a better idea of what agents you'll have to face at each site, and therefore you'll be ready for what abilities may be thrown at you. Hitting a site that doesn't have a Sentinel tends to be easier since you don't have to deal with traps. However, you do have to note that there's going to be an extra player likely there. However, if you do find that the Sentinel player places their abilities in very easily disposed locations, then going to them may actually end up being better because you can rip their setup apart quickly and then going for the push just like we mentioned. Second, find out where players are likely to position themselves and also check for who appears to be the best players on the enemy team. You can do this by simply looking at the scoreboard as the game progresses and seeing who's fragging out on the defender side. You can then figure out which site that defender tends to play on and then go to the opposite site to avoid facing them. Not only will the other site be easier since the defenders won't be as good, but you also force the better players to have to rotate and play retake. As a result, you'll be placing them in a very tricky situation where they will have a much more difficult time of fragging. Lastly, if you want to get an effective 5-man push, you're going to need to coordinate with your team ahead of time. This is the key component of aggressive play. Everyone on the team should have a role and understand what their role is going to be during the push. Even though it may seem that teams are just straight up rushing, there's actually strategy that goes into the play. Before showing you an example of a good aggressive play, here's an example of an absolutely terrible play that some of you may be familiar with. Like we mentioned earlier, aggressive plays can work, but only if you read the situation and set up appropriately. Here my team made a ton of noise on Garage, indicating to the defenders early on that we were all here planning for a B push from Garage. This is our first mistake and the defenders then smoke us off and block our vision, and now we're in a bad position to try to push through. At least this is what I was thinking, and I attempted to call that we should back out. However, my 3 duelists decided that it would be a good idea to push through anyway, and as a result we end up on different pages. I'm backing up while half of my team is going in. As a result, we end up split and give up free kills. Had we communicated earlier on about what we were going to do, this may have been all avoided and we may have ran out with a well coordinated push that would have won us the round, but instead we didn't talk, and as a result we ended up making assumptions of what each other was thinking and our team play crumbled. Had we talked things through prior to the round starting, we would have been more on the same page and had a proper setup. We didn't know if we were going to push in, who was going in first, what abilities we were going to use, were we going to go in right away past the smoke, or were we going to wait it out and then push afterwards. There were a ton of options, but it all comes down to communicating it out quickly and efficiently so that no one is lost on what the plan is. We didn't do that, and as a result we were lost. Now here's a great example from Scream showing how aggressive plays should be done. If we look into this 5-man rush by Scream, you'll see that every player has a distinct role and they set up the play before actually pushing in. Raze is throwing her grenade towards the middle of the site to clear it out, Viper is setting up her wall to block off screens, Skye is shooting out her ultimate, and Scream is dashing in aggressively to grab the pick. At the same time, we also have all angles covered, where we have 2 players looking towards the left of the site, 2 looking towards the right, and then Scream is going down the middle. By doing so, they make sure that all positions are cleared and there are no possibilities for a defender to get by undetected. While Scream goes in quick on his own, the rest of his team is close by and also pushing as a unit to cover the closer angles and then catch up to Scream to support him. When breaking this round down, there's much more to it than quote unquote rushing in. The aggressive push was coordinated in time to ensure that every single player did their part, and when this is done correctly, unless the defenders stack the site, there's no way that you won't be able to overwhelm the enemy and take the site. So to break this down, aggressive plays are the key to having a strong attacker side, and with a few simple steps, you can win hard on this half. To make appropriate aggressive plays, you need to gather information on enemy positions and playstyles. Know where they like to play, where they like to use abilities, figure out who's their best player, and use all of that information to determine the best site to hit. From there, communicate with your team who's going to do what and how you're going to hit the site. Where a flash is going to be thrown, where a smoke is going to be, who's going in first, who's going in last, are you going for a full push into one location, or are you splitting up and hitting the site at the same time from 2 locations? These seem like a large number of questions, however this is why there is a fairly long cooldown timer before a round starts, so you can talk all of this out and communicate thoroughly before the action begins. This ensures that everyone's on the same page, everyone has a role to do, and there is no confusion on the push. If this is all done appropriately, you'll be able to take the site every time with pure aggression. Alright, if you haven't already, make sure to comment what rank you are currently in Valorant and come back to this video to let us know if you've noticed improvement by using these tips. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get more premium guides just like this one with one goal in mind: helping you become a better player. We here at Skillcat want to thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next. I'm Dr. Zora, and good luck out there.